Hi, everybody. This is Space the Smoke Break. This beautiful morning, I'm here with one of my dear friends. She is very well known in in a lot of occult circles. She is the Village Witch. She is my very good friend, my dear big sister Byron Ballard. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing so well on this beautiful day.
Oh,
We
it's good.
couldn't ask for better, could we?
Yeah, it's pretty nice outside. Let's right in. It's pretty nice. Yeah, yeah. And how are you dealing with this COVID-19
You,
outbreak?
I gotta say, I almost start every sentence these days with "I am so blessed and I'm so grateful," because I've got a book that I'm writing that's due June 1, and normally I'd be on the road right
Yeah,
now, hitting it hard. So the thought that I can be at home and I can be planting my garden and writing my book and cleaning my nasty kitchen, all of that,
mm,
that I'm very grateful for that, and I'm trying to use this time wisely.
yeah. I think that we are too in our house. We're trying to use this time to kind of consolidate and get rid of stuff we're not using, and we use
Well,
this time also to work on our communication skills with each other, which is
oh,
yeah,
yes,
it's a
good
challenge.
plan, good
Yeah.
plan.
Uh, like always, before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsor is Earthy Now. It's a hemp and CBD company out of Asheville, North Carolina. And this morning, I am enjoying some of their cherry pie, which is 14.4% CBD. And uh, and we give a shout out to those guys. Thanks to Joey and Ronnie and Anders for all they do for us. And also our other sponsor is Urban Combat Wrestling and For the Culture, hard hits, and hard hits. Shout out to Mook and Alan Brody. But this morning we here on the smoke break, and we are going to talk to Byron Ballard about something that is very near and dear to both of our hearts, which is the art and the science of tarot.
Well, you said that so well.
um, for those that don't know, I've been knowing Byron Ballard for maybe 11 years now. We met in 2009, I think.
Was he really? I
Yeah,
believe it. I believe it's been that long.
it's been that long, and she was very instrumental in helping me to uh, discover tarot. Not only to discover tarot, but to also develop my relationship with this wonderful little deck of cards, which is almost like it's like a library of books almost.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Well, and you got to credit yourself with being intensely curious, because you
Uh,
are a curious man, and you always have been as long as I've known you. It's like, what is that thing? I want to know all about that. That's just how you work.
yeah,
But yeah, if you don't mind, I'm gonna give the backstory of me and tarot,
yeah.
because I've been reading cards now for 50 years. What,
Wow.
51 years. And I started with just a deck of playing cards. That's how I was taught. And I didn't get to tarot till about 2 years after that. So I've been reading cards longer than I've been reading tarot. And a lot of people like me that are just, I grew up in the country. And so I wasn't exposed to tarot early on. Well, I mean, I was 14. That's pretty early on. So I've been reading a long time. And I am still reading the first real deck I ever had. It's a different deck of cards,
Uh-huh.
but it's the same style of cards. And I have found that if I read a deck other than the one I'm used to, I kind of fall into the pictures in the deck.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them and I'm missing the spiritual piece that's coming in. And I'm not listening to the intuitive piece. So I guess I it's real popular now to say you're an intuitive about things, but I think I really am an intuitive card reader,
Yes.
because I will talk to people who have studied it for years and are not regular readers, because I read all the time,
Mhm.
and they will say, "Oh, that card means XYZ," and I'll think, "Well, sometimes it means that, but sometimes it means this thing over
Yeah.
here." And sometimes it means this. So it's I love that you said the art and the science, because it's just 78 cards.
Yes.
And you can get to know 78 cards and what they mean and how they work. But it's also 78 cards in combination with each other.
Each other,
And
and then also in combination with yourself and in combination with whoever you're reading for, whatever you're reading about. Um,
yeah,
uh,
so that there are infinite combinations.
Infinite. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I was gonna say, because in a particular reading, a card might take a flavor that may not come out again in any other reading. It's just particular to this moment in time. What I like to say is that when I'm doing a tarot card reading, especially for divination, is that this is going to take a snapshot in time of what the future may look like if you continue on this path that you're on.
Yes. And the cards are read, just for your viewers, they are read upright or upside down, which is called reversed.
Yes.
And they have different meanings that way too.
Yes.
So there's another little things thrown into the mix. And I will say to people, when a card is reversed, I'll say, this card is not, it's not out of reach. This thing right here is not out of reach for you. So if you do all that has been suggested to you up until this point, then this card flips over and then things change. But if you just insist on going on stubbornly with doing the thing you're doing after the cards have been very clear,
Yes.
then yeah, then this will be denied you.
Yes. Yes. And I also see it as sometimes when the card comes reversed for me, it's like the shadow side of that card, the side
Yes.
that activity that's not really paid attention to,
Yep.
maybe, or that maybe if you are neglecting something in regard to this certain flavor or certain shade of life, then you're gonna get the other side of it.
Yeah.
Which is not always positive, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But okay, I think we've got a little bit ahead of ourselves. We'll pull it back. Maybe just giving some introductory remarks about the cards. You know, it is a deck of cards. There's a certain number to it, 78 cards.
Yeah. We think it comes from Italy, but it may be much older than that.
Yeah.
The first documented ones come from Italy in the 1300s.
And that's still a very long time ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. But there's some thought that actually that it came out of Egypt.
Yeah, that's
And
what I was gonna say, that it was maybe a condensation of the knowledge that was inside of the Library of Alexandria.
yeah, I've heard that too.
I've
Yeah.
heard that, but it's like back in the shadows. Nobody really has any.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean to say it was the 1300s, that wasn't so long ago. That was a long time ago.
That was a
That was a
long time.
long, long time ago. So if we've had this tool since then, if we only had this tool as long as I've had it for 50 years, it's still such a valuable tool.
That's
And
extremely
most
valuable.
tarot decks have 78 cards.
Yes.
I read the Waite Rider deck, and again 78 cards. But the illustrator for that was a woman named Pamela Coleman Smith.
Yes.
And when they re-released that deck a few years ago, they tossed in 4 other pieces of her artwork just for fun, so you could see what her artwork looked like. So I'm reading now with an 82 card deck.
Oh wow.
And it's fun because
So
those cards are like, they're like wild cards. They don't have any interpretation laid on them. So when one of those shows up in a reading, it's like, whoa, this is good. This is interesting.
it's a new wrinkle added in, and for people that don't know about the cards, actually, when we talk about the number of cards in the deck, there's a certain way that the cards are broken down. We actually have 2 decks inside of one deck.
Yeah.
So I'd like to expound on the major arcana and the minor arcana just a little.
Yeah. And if we think about it in terms of regular playing cards, the minor arcana is like the it's pentacles, wands, cups, and swords,
Mhm.
and that's just like the spades, clubs, hearts, diamonds. So divided into 4 suits,
Yes.
just like with playing cards. And at the top of the suits are king, queen, ace, There's a page, which kind of functions as a jack. So that's a really familiar thing. And I always encourage people to actually not start with the minor arcana
Mhm.
because it's going to feel familiar to them. They're
Yes.
going to see if this is the Eight of Pentacles, that's probably a card about resources and money. And then I'm going to learn more about specifically that card.
Yes.
So I tell them to start with the major arcana because
That's
those are all space cards,
mhm.
and they are dramatic. No matter what deck you're reading, they are dramatic cards. And when a card like that shows up in a reading, it
You know
it
that the
is,
big boys done came in.
yeah, exactly. Now you know it's serious. It's not just you need to save your money
Mhm.
because coronavirus is coming and your gig economy is going to explode, which I think both of us understand real well.
Yes.
But then you get a card like the Chariot. And I have stories now. I've been reading these cards so long. I have stories that go with some of the cards. So I tell a client, when the Chariot comes, change is here. And you
Yes.
got some choices. You can be the two sphinxes that are pulling the chariot. It's hard work, but you're in the front. Or you can be the guy who's guiding the chariot. You can be the
Yeah.
charioteer. And you're going to get a lot of dust and a lot of phoenix poop and all that stuff up in your face, but you have control.
In control, and you have the whole universe like behind you, protecting you, guiding you, pulling you
And
through.
yes, I'm pushing you forward. The ideal place to be is something you don't see on the card, is that little pretty padded bench right behind the charioteer. That's where
Mhm.
you want to be sitting. So you're whispering up to the charioteer, take a right up here. Would you take a right? Okay, good.
Yeah.
What you
It's
don't ever want to be is the person who is hanging on the back of the chariot by one hand,
getting
hoping
drunk.
they're not going to fall off.
Yes.
So that's what that card gives you, all those options. And if it comes to you reversed, it means change is not quite here, but you better get your ass ready for it.
Yes, that's right. Or you're about to get bypassed by the change. It's already came and it's too late. You done missed the bus, brother. That
Yeah.
see
And sometimes that's true.
first. Yeah, you done missed the bus. Um, Going along with this, thinking about the major arcana. Now, I like to see it as I like to tell a story from the I the fool is a cipher to me now. I don't know where he fits. He fits wherever he wants to go.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
fits wherever he wants to go. And for people that don't know, the trumps or the major arcana is numbered 0 to 21 because something has to happen before one. It has to be a space there. So, would you like to talk about the different factors of life that are explained and talked about through the major arcana, kind of from the story? If you put it like, well, here is the fool, and here's the magician and the high priestess, and that story of kind of life and society taking shape and form through the major arcana, or maybe your personal life. It's a story to me.
Well, and that's exactly right. And that makes it so much easier when you are sitting down to read for
Mhm.
yourself or for somebody else, whether you're doing divination or you are opening up to the psychic experiment or you're just doing counseling with somebody or with yourself. So whatever it is, you can see a a line from the beginning, and the beginning card is the Fool card. And I always try to stress to people, this is a fool in the sense of the person who was always with the person in power and kept them distracted and kept everything on an even keel. That's who the fool is. The fool is an adventurer, and the fool is always searching, always seeking, always looking for what it is going to make the world, the situation better, not just personal, but it's a community wide thing. And then you go through all these amazing phases of a person's life or potential phases. So you've got magician, you've got the priest, you've got the pope, you've got all these wonderful possibilities about either people you can meet on the journey who are going to influence you and change who you are, or the phases of your own life. So
Mhm.
you're going to go from this place and then to this place. And then you get to those cards like the Empress card, which is so powerful and so beautiful But the Empress is like this woman who has everything she could possibly need or want, and then it goes out into the community. So she's not holding on to any of that.
It's
And to
flowing
be able to
through.
say that to somebody who is fearful about their lives or their jobs or resources, to say, look, you got this Empress card. Now, let me tell you what she means. What the Empress is saying to you is that you have everything you need, and now it's time to give back. Now it's time to cast your bread on the water.
You have to become nature. To me, it's like the Empress card is like nature and the outflowing of um, that natural desire to kind of uh, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that when you get that card in your reading, that it's time that the universe has made it to where you can be yourself and you can really cast, like you said, your bread out on the water. You can cast your seed out on the land,
Yeah.
and it's a place where we can go and be full and happy and taken care of.
Well, and there's also the sense that that is a feedback loop. So
Mhm.
when you put that out, you still it comes right back to you. So when you put out when you when you take care of your family and your community, then that loops back to you,
Yeah,
and that you are never then without. And that's important. And they're cards like everybody's terrified to get the death card.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I tell them, oh, the death card. It's just a change card. And I read the cards around it and let them know, that whatever that contract is you're thinking of signing, you haven't read all the details yet, so you need to get back to it.
Yeah.
Um, and but I tell them the card you don't want to get is the Tower card.
Oh, the tower means that everything that you when I see that card, I know that I need to tie my shoes up tight and put on my rubber booties and waders and get a parachute and a
That's
bulletproof
right.
vest.
Put a belt on your pants. Yeah,
Yes.
it tells you all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fun to look at cards and be able to, like, the Hanged Man looks scary, but I always tell my clients the thing about the Hanged Man you got to remember is the reason he has his arm behind him is because he's holding the rope that holds him in that position. He's there to learn something.
Yeah.
So if you feel like right now your life is not working right, then you need to know you may have put yourself in that position because you need to learn something about yourself. So there's the sense of, and you had mentioned it before, the difference between using it as a tool of divination versus saying to somebody, and I have clients all the time who come in and go, well, I just need some clarity on what's going on in my life. Because a lot of times people feel like they got hit out of left field and they don't know how to even respond to something, much less fix it.
Mhm.
So that it's such a good tool, and I always come back to that word because it's not, people get scared about it like they do about Ouija boards. It's like, oh no, I saw a deck of, and around here, sometimes they're called tarot cards, and it rhymes
Yeah.
with carrot,
Yeah.
carrot. And
Yeah.
I
You
seen those, and boy, I
somebody
got nervous.
that when they say tarot cards, you might as well charge them $50 an hour for the reading that they're gonna ask you for, because that's what
Oh,
you need to put up with their ignorance.
oh yeah. Uh, but uh, but yeah, to go through the majors is what I call them, and then there's cards like the Wheel of Fortune, and the older I get, the more I realize how important the concept of good luck is, and we've kind of lost that culturally in the West. We don't think about if you're in the right place at the right time, it makes everything easy,
Yes.
and it doesn't mean you can't work your butt off and make something happen. But if you're in a place where it's easy to do that piece, then you can go on to the more creative piece.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always, when some client gets the Wheel of Fortune, I say to them, "Do you consider yourself a lucky person?" And a lot of times they'll go, "Well, I don't know." And I'll go, "From this point on, I want you to think that way. I want you to think you're lucky. When you walk out of here today, you're going to see something that's going to catch your eye, a little something like a coin or a stone." And I said, "That's your lucky talisman. You put that in your pocket, and you're going to be lucky." And it changes people because if they have the idea that they have good luck, they kind of walk through the world differently.
Yes. 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 It's very much tied to that magical idea of the wheel, like your
Uh,
willpower, the wheel, like the way you think. Um, Will is like paramount when you're trying to do something magically. If you don't have strong will, and you can actually will yourself, I think that's what you're talking about is willing yourself into a mindset that is conducive for good things to happen. It's kind of
yes.
like why we charge talismans and why we carry certain pouches and whatnot. We charge it with the idea that this is gonna help me kind of grease my way through the
Yes.
situation. And 9 times out of 10, if you thinking the way that you think is the way that your life is gonna go.
Isn't that true? The power of positive thinking. Who said that? There was a whole book about that years ago.
Vincent
That if
Monet
you,
Hill.
yes, yes. And if you just think it, a lot of times your attitude, I say that all the time. Attitude is everything. It really is. Um, yeah, and then there's other cards that I'll invent a story with that kind of eases my client into thinking a different way. And that's important with any kind of divination or any kind of tool like this is that you 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 ease them into a different way of thinking about it or
Mhm.
thinking about their lives or thinking about the situation. So if you're walking through the world and all you can do is be afraid of the government and afraid of your fellow human beings and worried that you're not going to have enough ever, then that's one way of being in the world. But if you walk through the world knowing that you're gonna work hard and the way will be provided for you and
Yes.
clear for you, that's a whole different way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's not one that's based off of fear, which I think that a lot of our religious, spiritual, psychological, or magical thought is really based on us going from a mindset that's based on fear to a mindset that's based on, I don't really like to use this word, but faith, which is present. I don't really like to use that word because of its connotation, but faith. Um, you when you change from one mindset to the other, you unlock an entire new realm, and I think that tarot is one of the greatest ways to kind of, because it's immediate, it's very fluid and flexible, and it's immediate right there. And if you can pick up on the information and make those little changes and adjustments, I've seen that it's been able to lead my life from one way to another way.
Yes. Well, because it's a journey, like you said before. It's a journey from the fool all the way to the world at the
Yes,
end. And at the end, it's beautiful and it's community and everybody's dancing and looking happy.
yes,
Now, I keep talking about these cards like everybody knows what they look like, but different makers of tarot cards do different illustrations. So there's different, you can go to a shop like Raven and Crone on Merriman Avenue and get yourself a deck of cards, and it may be totally different illustrations than the ones that I use.
yes.
And that's good. You should do what I call magic hands. You should just rub your hands together and put them out, palm out, and find the deck that really works for you. Are
Yes.
you getting your deck?
Yeah, I have a couple of examples that I wanted to show people on how um, the decks are kind of. There's two different styles when it comes to the minor arcana. You have cards like the Rider Waite deck, which is very beautiful scenes and pictures, and then you have other cards um, called pip cards,
Yeah.
and the two different kinds of illustrations. Like
Yeah.
this is the
Beautiful.
pip card. It's an older style. You see that this is the six of this is the seven. No, this is the six of cups.
Yep.
And it has six cups on it instead of like the nine of pentacles, which you see from the Rider Waite deck. And this is the shining Rider Waite deck. Um, and it has the scene of the woman right there. And both of these cards hold the same information in essence, but two different styles of laying it out.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And those are very colorful. And you can get black and white cards. There's even a color your own tarot deck. So yeah, and There's circular ones. I meant to pull those out. There's Daughters of the Earth and Mother Peace are both circular cards.
Mm.
And they're hard as hell to shuffle.
Yeah, but good for witches because witches do it in circles.
That's right. And the more we talk about time and the way time works, the more we realize that it's circular.
Yes.
And we come back to it. If you look at the wheel of the year or look at the agricultural year, so we're in springtime right now, and guess what? 12 months from now, we'll be back in
It's
springtime.
springtime.
If
It's
if
cyclical.
we don't mess it up,
Yeah.
we're gonna be back in springtime.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So when we look at that major arcana that starts with the Fool's Journey and ends with the World, we know that the next card after the World is the Fool,
Is the
because
fool.
that's the way human life is. It doesn't stand still.
No, it doesn't, and it keeps coming back to the same cycles. Because we see in nature, you can observe it without any scientific training that things go in cycles.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
look at it from the day where it'll be nighttime again in a few hours, and then it'll be light again. It's the same cycles.
Yeah, and
Right.
and that people used to say, well, there was ritual wrapped around those changes because our ancestors were afraid the sun wouldn't come back or whatever. And that's just crap. Our ancestors weren't stupid.
No.
Our ancestors, if they had lived through one day, they knew that there was nighttime and there was light time. And it
Yeah,
happens all the time.
all the
And they
time.
would know. You just have to live through a couple of cycles of the year to know here's when winter happens and then spring happens, or here's when the dry season is and here's when the rainy season is.
Well, I think that
So,
what a lot of people don't understand about ritual, because it's been kind of stripped out of our society pretty much systematically, is that ritual is not to affect the change. Ritual is to take advantage of the energies that are present at that time,
yes. And ritual is to mark the changes.
to mark the time.
Yeah. So that it sticks with us, because humans are visual. Humans, if we hear it, if it's musical, if it's drums, if we see the visual of it, it sticks with us
Yes.
longer and better than if we just feel the energy and go, it's summer now. I feel summer.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you got something to mark the change in the time, it
Mhm.
makes it more significant and makes it more memorable.
Especially if you're like all societies, we all have our stories that we tell, and we all have the information that we want imparted to the next generation. And ritual is a wonderful way of doing it. People think that we don't have rituals. Yeah, we do. We have rituals every day. Americans have probably more rituals than the ancient people had. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, we got rituals all the time. Like
yeah.
it's think about football season and the Super Bowl and all of these big events that go on. These are major rituals. I mean,
Uh,
pyrotechnics is the same as lighting a bonfire. It's the same energy. You always have these things present. It's the way that humans interact with the world is through ritual. And even if they try to strip it away or fancy and gussy it up, it's the same old thing.
because humans need it. We need ritual. And I know a lot of people right now putting their fingers in the air is like, no, I do not need ritual. But if we can have a foundation, if we can have a base that we work out from, then it gives us the opportunity to really step outside of time and
Mhm.
change things that need to be changed.
And I think that's one of the drawbacks of modern life is that we don't have that time in the spirit world. We don't have that time dealing with our ancestors, dealing with things that are not tangibly seen, even though everybody's hooked on Wi-Fi and electricity that are not tangibly seen. What's the difference between the
Right.
ancestors and the spirit world? It's the same type of idea. We already are doing it,
Yeah.
but just kind of.
And I always laugh at people who, I talk about the re-emergence of ancestor veneration in the West because it was stripped out of us with the coming of the Catholic Church. They just stripped it away. But every family I know has somebody in it who knows the family history. They know
Mhm.
the genealogy. Oh yeah, Aunt so and so. You go to her and she can tell you your great great grandpa was this. Well, I'm telling you, that's just stealth ancestor worship. That's all it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Ancestry.
yeah, your religion won't let you go, I'm honoring my great grandmother because she taught me everything I knew. And I'm going to light incense. I'm going to have a picture of her, all that, because I love her and I respect her and I am honoring her. They won't let you do that, but they'll let you have a picture of her on the piano
Yeah.
and go and to remember her on her birthday.
Yeah.
So it's not so different. It
No, it's
really
not so
isn't.
different. It's not so different. And tarot can help us to kind of it's it can help us make sense of some of these feelings that we have inside. I know that that for me it's been a tool for self-introspection, leading on
Oh, yeah.
our next topic, which is like the uses of tarot. For me, I can lay out a spread about myself and I can pull out my little pad and I can write down some stuff that can really change my direction,
Yeah.
that allow me to work through some of these issues of life that we all have. Um, if you could speak to that side of tarot, the side of tarot where you use it to look at yourself and to kind of get in touch
Yeah.
with that
It,
inside.
and I'm going to touch back on what we were just talking about with ritual is that there are times in our lives, and some of those are astrologically based. So the time when you have your Saturn return is this wide open time where you can make a lot of change and a lot of stuff happens. But I have clients who come to me and their life is just crap. You know, their human relationships are not good. Their work relationship is not good. They have dropped their spirituality or they're afraid to touch, all of that. Everything feels like a tidal wave that's rolling over them and there's nothing they can do. And then I offer to them that that this could be in fact a rite of passage.
Yes.
So this is life or the universe or God, however you want to say that. This is the universe offering you in your life this time of immense challenge. And the the thing is not just, oh yeah, these things are happening to me and whining about that. It's that these things are happening to me and the way that I address those things says everything about me.
Yes.
So when I'm sitting down and reading for myself, and I always lay out 7 cards. That's my thing. And I turn them over one at a time and really think about each of those cards. And then once they're all turned over, I kind of sit back and I get the feel for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because individually, that all could be saying one thing. But once that all comes together, then that could be saying something that these are all just subtle pieces of. But the big picture is that I got to get off my lazy butt. And if I want it, I got to go for it.
Is that not
Or,
is that not the answer? Like 89% of the time, get off your lazy butt and do it.
yes, yes. Well, it's like those people that I can't get a job. I can't get a job. Well, where are you applying for jobs? Well, I haven't been doing that either. Okay. And
Okay.
I'm a belt and suspenders person. It's like, yeah, you do your spiritual work and you get out and do your leg work.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Uh,
That's the only way that it works. I think that the spiritual part of it is just giving you the incentive to get up and go out of the door. Because for me, without that, I wouldn't have the strength and the power, the confidence to do it at all.
Yeah. And sometimes that's hard, especially, I mean, I'm thinking about where we are now with COVID, is that people are afraid to get out. And
Yeah.
what's going to happen after 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, quarantine, is the people that were out there really hustling. And, we live in this gig economy. The people that were out there hustling, they're maybe not going to have the self confidence because they haven't been doing it for 6 weeks. They've been staying home, they've been dealing with family or loving family or both. And they're going to need a little shot. They're going to need a little kick in the butt to say, you know what, get out there. There's opportunity here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that with using the tarot for self improvement, I've noticed that I will go through cycles when I'm reading for myself that the same card would pop up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
no
And,
matter
and
how
you'll
you
go,
look at the
why
card,
am I not doing this?
why,
Maybe I should do this.
yeah, maybe I should do this. Um, I know that there are a lot of people who may not know about where to start with getting a deck of cards, and you hear all of these different so-called rules, which I find very funny when dealing with anything in this. I don't even know if it could be called the occult anymore. Is that the rules are, you know, there are rules, but your rules are not going to be my rules because we're going to be dealing with different entities, different spiritual lineages that you don't even know that you're a part of. Let's get that out of the way. And what's good for some people will not be good for you. So you have to it's a lot of experimentation. But people are out here they're listening to this podcast and they're like, well, I want to try to use these cards. And you hear some people say stuff like, well, you don't buy a deck of cards for yourself. You get it from, it's got to be a gift, da da da. Can we wade through some of that?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. And I'm just, sometimes I have to pull out my old lady card and just say, look, I've been doing this a long time. And let me just give you my wisdom about that. But I get in trouble all the time when I teach tarot because I say, don't read the book. Don't read it. Because there's no way you can memorize what every one of those cards means and what it means in partnership with another card and then reversed or then the other card. There's no way, because that's like 12 to the 30th power.
Yes.
And that's big a number of how many possible combinations. I tell them just to hang with the cards. Just hang with them and look at them every day and go, what's this card saying to me? What does the picture say to me? What does my spirit say to me? What's my intuition telling me? And then I tell people just read for other people and do like 3 cards. Just lay them out and just say, look, I'm learning cards. I'm learning to read the tarot, and I want you to be my guinea pig. And then just lay out 3 cards and then look at them and interpret them. Because when I teach a 2-hour tarot class, and I tell people at the beginning, they never believe this, I tell them at the end of this class, you are going to be able to pick up unmarked index cards and read. And they go, no, you can't do that. Well, you can do that.
Yeah, you can.
Because this is just a tool. It's just a tool. Yeah. So that information is coming from a lot of different places.
Well, do you prescribe to the elements being assigned to certain suits?
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah.
I see that helps out a lot for clarity sometimes, especially with dealing with cards and interaction.
Yes.
Well, this is earth and this is fire, so this is going to be kind of explosive. It's not going to, neither one of this is going to be it's going to change. You see what I'm saying? The combination changes.
Like the fire water combination, which feels like it's going to be explosive. It's just steam. It's just steam.
It's just steam.
So you blow that off. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But all the other stuff is just, I think it's just superstition that you can't buy a deck for yourself. Who the hell else are you going to buy a deck for?
Yeah, who's going to buy it for you? Yeah,
exactly. And who's going to buy you a deck? People give me decks all the time. Bless them. Bless their hearts. I'm grateful. But I don't need those decks. I got them. Okay, that's pretty. I love that. But I have my tools. I have my working deck, and I have 2 or 3 of those. But yeah, so that thing, and you always have to have the table covered with a cloth before you read so that the energies don't leak through. It's like, what?
That's crazy. I learned how to read in prison. I learned how to read and I learned how to meditate in prison in the loudest, most craziest places imaginable.
Yeah.
Like I'm in a dorm with 110 people and everybody's screaming and I'm meditating. Or I'm reading somebody's cards in the day room, and there's people having all kind of conversations. So yeah, it's all about your intention. Like you got the whole universe in nature inside of you, in your person and in your aura. And if you're working on yourself, then you have some strength to project and lock down the perimeter, and nothing can go on inside of that space unless you allow it.
Well, and prison is what made you such a good magic worker. Because exactly that, because you can focus like a laser. I've seen you do it.
I've kind of got out of practice with magic a little bit, but I think it's always with me. The other night, this is kind of a tangent, but the other night I think it was the last full moon ritual that you had on live.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Shannon had tuned in, and I was just remarking to myself how much I missed being in ritual with you. So I know after this, you'll be seeing a lot more of my face
Good.
because
I love
it's
seeing my
important.
face.
It's important for me. I didn't realize how important it was, and I've been like all around looking and searching around, and I
Well,
know
and
I
and the
know
thing about
myself.
you is, I mean, you are an entrepreneur and an artist, and that's magic. Every day you are doing that, you're doing magic.
Yeah, I
Every
believe
day.
believe that. Believe that. But getting back to the tarot.
I know we keep going down these rabbit holes.
Yeah, we
Well,
do.
and then
Yeah, but we were talking about using it for self-improvement, and talking about getting away from a lot of the superstition. Now I want to really give some practical advice to the folks. You had already said to kind of read for other people and read for yourself every day. Do you have some exercises that you have kind of either developed or that you have found that worked for you and that you've been able to apply? That some of the people are going out there because somebody's going to go and get their first deck after hearing this podcast. What are some things that they can do when they pull the plastic off and open the cards?
yeah, like I said before, I'm just a big proponent of just being with the cards, being with them, looking at them every day, figuring out, looking right up front and going, which are my favorite cards? Because everybody, they will tell you they don't have favorite cards, and every tarot reader I know does.
Yeah.
And when that card shows up, they go, oh, yeah, you got this. You got the Four of Cups. Oh, yes. So go through and just spend time with them, figure out what they mean to you, because if you are reading a classic deck, it's going to have some pictures that are weird and feel totally disconnected to the world you live in, but they aren't. So that lady with the beautiful hawk on her wrist standing in front of the hedge, well, you ain't a beautiful lady, you ain't got a hawk, and you're not standing in front of a hedge, but what does that card say to you?
Yeah.
So I want people, number one, to be curious about it. Number two, to not be afraid of it. You're not accidentally going to open a gateway to something dangerous
Yeah, yeah, I get
unless
that.
you open the gateway to your own soul and
Yeah,
you're just a mess. That'll be dangerous because you're going to have to clean yourself up. And to just spend as much time as you can with them, and um, and to work with them a lot. It's like practicing a musical instrument. You're
hmm
only going to be good at it if you practice it.
yes.
So if this is your instrument, then you got to spend some time with it.
All right, and I want to maybe we can. I'm going to pull a card for you to see
Oh,
to see what maybe that Byron can pay attention today to bring her a little bit of joy and balance.
thank you. Oh, that's very gracious.
Let's see, because we have to like it's practical. Oh wow, the Four of Swords reversed, which
Oh,
that you're gonna be kicking it into high gear. You've been hanging out a little bit. You've been hanging out a little bit, and it's about time to kick it into high gear. Maybe it's some chapters that need to be written, but you gotta they're kicking you out the sanctuary right now.
yep, I like it. And they're saying quit dreaming and just do it.
Just do it.
Well, I'm
That's
going to do the same. I'm going to do the same thing for you, mister.
thank you.
Watch this. Here's what you got, the lovers.
Ah,
And
yes.
the lovers tells me to tell you that that is your yeah, that's your true nature, is to love and love and love, but sometimes you get wrapped up in fear and anger because the things and the situations you love are not doing what you want them to do. So that is a card that reminds you that it is love. It is love. And that maybe you have to be a little more patient with yourself, because patience is a virtue. I
Yeah.
hear that all the time. You have to be more patient with yourself and to remember that sometimes you get frustrated because you want people to move faster than they're moving, but everybody's got to go at their own love speed.
Yeah, and I always tell people that other people's pace is not your business. You know, you just got to really make space for yourself and for them if you really want to be around. So yeah, that's a pretty pertinent card for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They always are, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They always are. If you would like to, I know that you have some books online for people to come and purchase, and I know that you have probably some online seminars to come to fruition. I would say.
Yeah, I'm not got anything right now, but I teach a class usually every year, an online class. But they can find everything about me at my website, which is myvillagewitch.com.
So y'all heard that. Y'all go to myvillagewitch.com and thank you so much.
Oh my
And
gosh, good to see you.
we forgot to do this at the beginning. We didn't call the quarters or anything. So I would just like to thank all of the ancestors and the watchtowers and the directions and the elements and everything that helps us to come together. Thank you very much. And don't be too mad at me that I forgot about y'all at the beginning, but I think they're laughing right now.
I think they will cut us some slack about that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's so good to see you. When this is done, me and you, buddy, lunch, coffee, walk in the park, whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. And yeah, we have to. And maybe we'll talk about some other things that we can do because I think that we are a pretty good combination, and maybe we can get in front of some people and show them a different side of some magical things.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
Because you are much more ceremonialist than I am.
Well, I'm getting out of it a little bit now because of just like you said, swishing around and not much stuff gets done.
Yeah, but I also know you're studying tarot
Yes.
and you're studying Kabbalah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
getting your foundations in.
Yes, I am. All right, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. And this has been the Smoke Break with Spaceman Jones and Byron Ballard. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Bye, y'all.